good? Welcome. Thank you for being here. Have any of y'all been in this classroom before? I think, Nick, you're regular here probably. But you found your way here. This wasn't a classroom until last year. So this whole building was IT. And now it is housed at Jim Moran School. So this is the first time we have used this space for the InNOLEvation Challenge info sessions. All the workshops are going to be in here throughout this fall, and you'll see the schedule of all the workshops coming up. So I'm going to move this just here, and we will get started. So what is it? Is a business model competition, and so that is distinguished between a business plan competition and that we use lean startup methods and a business model canvas. Have y'all ever heard of a business model canvas before? So some yes, some no. You should have been in your classes. So it's a template. Come on in and sign in the back, and we just are on the first slide, so you haven't missed too much. It's a template where you can sort of outline your ideas. And one of the workshops will be specifically about the business model canvas, but it gives you different little places to put in a value proposition and who your customers are and to sort of what you think those are. And then as you go through the process of the competition, you might find that those things need to change some. So lean startup methods, they started using back when a lot of software, and that it became about because people realized you didn't need to spend a lot of money until you realized if a business should be started. So it was better to start lean, meaning, what do I mean by lean? Anyone?
Skinny?
Skinny, yeah, with skinny amounts of money. Yeah, so lean, like, don't spend a bunch until you know if you should spend a bunch. So test out the idea and figure out if it's worth spending a lot of time and money doing. So that's where the lean startup movement started, and they use the business model canvas for this. And so our goal is to make it a learning experience. I know your goal is probably to win $10,000, which is a very worthy goal, and I hope you can achieve that. So we want to make sure that no matter what, you have a good time and that you learn from it. So the workshops are going to help you identify your assumptions. So all these sections of the canvas are sort of what you think they're going to be, like lean startup and the business model uses scientific methods, so they call those your like hypotheses, if you remember from your science classes, sort of like you guess that's what things are. And then as you talk to people and you do some research, you find out if your guesses or your hypotheses are correct. And if they're not, then you change them and you check that out. So it's iterative and it's changing, it's dynamic, it doesn't stay the same all the time. So testing them in the fields means you talk to people, talk to customers, do some market research, and find out more information. And then you might pivot. Who knows what a pivot is? You should know what a pivot is. I'm going to keep picking on you, Nick, because I know you're an entrepreneurship major, so So a pivot is a change. You do something else. So these are all the prizes that you can win. $10,000 best overall, but we have a lot of other categories because judges in the past said there's a lot of great businesses here, so we'd really like to be able to reward more than just one overall winner. Come on in, please sign in on the sign-in sheet. And great, there's some from my class here. That's why we just got started. So I walk across campus a little bit faster than you do. So there's $10,000 best overall, $4,000 for the strongest social environmental impact, which is kind of behind that picture there. It's the Jim Moran Challenge Social Venture Award. So whichever social venture comes out on top, and it may be a social venture is at the top. So frequently a social venture could win the best overall prize, in which case the second best social winner would get the $4,000. Then we have one called Spirit of Entrepreneurship. So Spirit of Entrepreneurship is kind of like how the team works together, and did you come to workshops? So you all are off to a good start because we keep track of how many workshops people attend, and so we want to see that, it's the people that are really giving it the best shot and in the spirit of the competition. And so that is rewarded with the Spirit of Entrepreneurship Prize. And there's the most viable, meaning it seems the most likely that it could happen and succeed, and most scalable, meaning this business could become something big pretty quickly and scale into a big company. Most innovative kind of speaks for itself, something that is new or unusual or very creative. And if you get to the finals and you don't win one of those prizes, you still would win at least $500. So that's not bad. And so you get also, in addition to Domi Venture, which is also called Domi Station, but they have co-working space, and also the greenhouse. I didn't put it up here, but the greenhouse is our business incubator. This is a gym room building downtown. So you can work in there on your business and be part of that program to help you learn more about how to build your business. So last year's business that won was InNOLeVation, and they had a ability to find, it's a very science-based biology. It was to help detect in Africa if children had this particular parasitic worm in there. So in that case, it's a very, like I say, biology, tech-focused scientific business. That doesn't always happen that way, but they have continued on with that, and it's kind of a life-changing type of business for children in this particular region of Africa that suffer from this parasite. So that's Dr. Susan Fiorito, who's the director of our Jim Moran School, and that is Mrs. Mark Scott, who she and her husband donate the $10,000 every year for that prize. So the eligibility guidelines are also on the website at that very, very long URL, but it's basically, if you go to the Jim Moran School student engagement page, there's an innovation challenge tab, and all this stuff that I'm telling you about is on the websites, but you should have no more than 5 students on a team. If you need to have 6, sometimes people do, that's okay, but we prefer that no more than 5, at least 6 credit hours enrolled, so you need to be an active FSU student this fall to apply. If you're graduating in December, it's okay, you can still be in it, even though the finals aren't till till March. Because you're a student at the time of the application. So student teams need to have at least 51% ownership. So say you have 5 people on your team, and you have 1 or 2 students that have graduated, or they go to another school, or they're not FSU students, it's okay as long as the FSU students have at least 51% ownership and control of the business. That's the main thing, because it is a competition for our students. Sometimes we get engineering teams, and they are FAMU students, but they're on teams with because FSU FAMU College of Engineering, and again, they are allowed to participate, but not present, but the FSU students need to be the majority of the team members. It needs to be your original work, and not have booked substantial revenue, which we're saying is more than $100,000. So has anybody in here's business already sold more than $100,000 worth? So, okay, good, you can all stay. Then it'll be next year you'll have that problem, right? But, so any of those details are on the website at that URL. This is what the business model canvas looks like. So I'm not going to go into it in great detail because we have a whole workshop about that. But if you want to go ahead of time and get up to speed on it, if you just Google Business Model Canvas or Canvanizer, or there's a strategizer.com website, there's a ton of information out there about the Business Model Canvas and what all these little sections mean. So there's lots of resources because it's a very common thing, commonly used. So the process, the way this competition works is in the first stage, which is by November 1st, you just apply at this URL, which again is on our website. When you get to the InNOLEvation challenge page, that link is there. We use a thing called Fluid Review, which is just a back-end application system. Use your FSU email address for that. Probably all your faculty tell you in every class you should be using your FSU email address for anything official with FSU. And that's what you should use to create the login and submit things. So on November 1st, you do just put your value proposition in. Nick, can I pick on you again? What's a value proposition?
Basically, just like what value you're bringing to, I guess, whoever you're selling to, basically.
Yeah, like what is it that you're doing? You know, I mean, I'm creating a widget because, you know, short people need to get stuff off the top shelf in the grocery store or something. Like, it's a lot of times a business is a solution to a problem. So it's kind of like what you're delivering. Like it says what value you're going to deliver. If you're solving a problem, the best businesses typically that win are a solution to a problem, or filling a need that's not currently being met, or it's a need that if it's being filled, it's not being done very well, you could do it better somehow. So that's your value proposition, and that can change. So by November 1st, we want you just to throw your hat in the ring and say, I'm going to compete in this thing, and by putting your name there. But until the second submission, you can add other team members. You can sort of change, like I said, we want you to be learning from this. So after November 1st, you might realize this is really not a good idea. I want to do this. So you can do that. You know, we want to keep it where you are, fluid and flexible. So just by November 1st, the important thing is that you include the names of the team members excuse me, that you currently know, what your business idea is, a company name. Typically, students will change their mind about their company name, and that's okay. You can revise things in future submissions. So I put these pictures in here just so you can kind of get a sense. This is a Jim Morant building downtown. We have a big wall where presentations are shown. So that's what you'll be doing. There's judges that sit there and listen to you and decide who wins. So in stage 2, which is due after the holidays, and you get a chance, you get till January 13th to kind of get back on board with this. You develop your hypotheses that are in all those little sections of the business model canvas. Like figure out who's your customer, what do they want, how do you want to get it, how will you get it to them, what do you need to get started, like what kind of resources do you need, how much money, those kind of general hypotheses, your ideas about that are submitted in stage 2 by January 13th. So that includes all the sections of this business model canvas except for the cost and the revenue, and you'll see on the canvas those sections are in the bottom. So as you're doing research, it won't hurt you to go ahead and kind of track that information when you find out, oh, I would need to have, trucks to do this business, or, an app that's going to cost X amount to build. I mean, kind of be thinking about what would the cost be, but you don't have to actually submit that yet, because we'll have a workshop about how you figure those things out. And so that's also by the 13th is your last chance to add team members or drop team members or kind of make some of those changes. And then after that submission, there's a team of judges and they narrow it down to 15 semifinalists. And then stage 3, if you're one of those 15 semifinalists by February 4th, you submit to say, this is what I did to kind of test these assumptions, and these are changes we made, or pivots, like this is kind of what we did in the process of that, and so these things changed, these didn't change because we found out, yes, this was accurate, we really do have 100,000 people that would want to buy this thing, or whatever you've done to kind of prove your assumptions in the earlier submissions, what value we deliver, how you're going to satisfy your customer, and just summarize all of that and submit that. in the sections of the business model canvas. And then you submit that by February 4th, and that should include the whole thing, including the cost and the revenues. And then we'll have a semifinals in the building downtown on February 7th, which will have a panel of judges, and then the finalists are announced on February 10th. So it just keeps narrowing down a little bit. So these are the steps to validate your business model successfully. You're going to kind of keep track of what your assumptions were from your original canvas and how you tested them, what you did. Did you talk, did you do a qualitative survey to 100 people? And 60% of them responded and they said, yeah, I'd buy this, I'd pay $5 for it, or I think it should be purple, or anything you did to kind of ask people, what they thought. What is really a good thing to do to see is, I went to Market Wednesday and sat at the table and actually talked to people. You do the readings about lean startups and business model canvas. Steve Blank is one of the big gurus of that, and he will recommend that you talk to 100 customers, talk to 100 people, do interviews, keep track of all that stuff, keep that data, and that's a lot of people to get out and talk to, and so that is, the more you talk to, the more information you get, the better it is, and that's testing your assumptions in the field, and pivot if your model is wrong. And what's a pivot? A change. Yes, you'll hear that word a lot, and and then you want to demonstrate that you have gotten some traction by the feedback that you've gotten from talking to people. So then the final stage that you submit is due March 2nd, and that's a one-page executive summary. Do y'all know what an executive summary is? You might, so if you write like a full-blown business plan, that can be pages and pages and pages, but an executive summary is just sort of like 1 or 2 pages, the meat of what is your business, kind of what you've done to get to the point where you are right now. So this is something that we send to judges ahead of time, and they have a chance to read it. And so when you pitch to them, you present, which we will have a workshop about how to pitch. And how you do that. So when you go in and talk to them, they'll have already have at least a general idea about what it is that you're doing, and that comes from the executive summary. So really just a page, because it's like if you are starting a business and you want to get investors and venture capitalists and stuff, typically they're not going to, they want to see all the planning that you've done and they want to know you have stuff to back it up, but they're really not going to read more than 1 or 2 pages. So it's getting you in the habit of condensing everything down so you can show somebody pretty quickly what it is that you're doing. So that's what an executive summary does. That is due on March 2nd, and just kind of summarizes your project. And then March 6th is where you present to the panel of judges at the finals. And so that starts in the morning, and typically by like 2 o'clock that afternoon we're announcing the winners, and we have a nice reception, and it's a very nice day. So these are the judging criteria. Again, this is all on the website. We want to see that you've identified a problem or an unmet need, and how big the market could be, how much you think you could get of that market. Do you have a prototype? And anybody know what a prototype is? Yes.
A base where you're starting off the product you're trying to initially or inevitably finish.
Yeah, so it's just sort of like, even if it's a picture or if you have something you can 3D print at the Innovation Hub, and y'all all know the Innovation Hub is available as resources to you, so you could draw something out, or they can help you maybe create something if it's a widget thing, or if it's an app, you can like sort of storyboard out like what your app would look like and how so a visual, the judges like to see visuals. Yeah,
So like a wireframe would be considered?
Yeah, wireframe, exactly. That would be a prototype, something,
Okay.
because you're probably not going to actually have an app to show a judge, but you could show, Or even videos. I've seen students do videos in presentations. Like a couple years ago, a student had an app, and they did, you know, you can create those animated videos, and he did that, and it made it very clear because, you know, most of the judges are successful entrepreneurs and business people, but they're typically 40+ years old, and sometimes students are telling them ideas and they have no idea what they're talking about. So the more visual you can be with pictures or, you know, something that you made out of 3D printing or videos or anything, the better, so they can understand what it is you're doing. So you have evidence the solution is validated, like maybe you're making something that somebody could say, well, you know, if you create this and you do this, I will buy it from you. You know, so anything that you can show that that it's a good idea, and not just a good idea, but it's a good idea that would be marketable and people would be wanting it. Judges love to know how the prize money would help your venture. So you go in there and you say, if I had $10,000, I could, you know, do this and create this, and this is how it would help me. Then they can really tell. Hi, there's a sign sheet if you don't mind signing in. Then they would know what it would do, what it would mean to you to get $10,000. So, or any of the prize money, $10,000. So if you're specifically a social venture, there's a place you can put that on the application. And by social venture, meaning addressing a social or environmental problem is really the primary purpose for the creation. So a lot of businesses in general have, you know, they want to do good. They don't want to harm people or the environment. But the social mission isn't really the primary part of what they're doing and why they're doing it. But then others, ventures, are specifically started to solve a social problem. So, so there's a section on the application particularly pertaining to social ventures about, is this the primary purpose for creating an enterprise? Does it have an innovative, systemic approach to addressing the social and environmental problem? So what do you think I mean by systemic approach? I mean, an innovative, systemic approach is a mouthful of stuff. So, innovative, yeah, systemic, like it's not just a one-shot thing, right? Like it's going to be able to continue to go on because it's making enough money or generating enough to where it can come back and keep doing that. It's not just like, I'm going to spend $10,000 and go down and give it, you know, to homeless people, which would be a nice thing to do, but that's not a systemic approach. And it's probably not that innovative either. So does the organization have a sustainable, that would be the sustainable approach, what I just described. Systemic would be addressing it throughout the whole systems and processes of the businesses, addressing a social or environmental problem. One of our workshops will be Dr. Mark McNeese, and he will be talking specifically about social ventures, and he talks about the 3 Ps, or the triple bottom line, and that's people, planet, and profits, or meaning when you are looking at your business and its success, you are concerned with all 3 of those things, not just profits, but how it affects society and people, and how it affects the planet and the environment. So we want it to be innovative, systemic, and sustainable in achieving its vision. And even if it's not specifically a social venture, if it's a normal commercial type venture, how does it positively impact society in some other way? Like a lot of other ventures still do something good, or at least do no harm to the environment. So these are the specific criteria for each of the types of categories. The one with the most points, best overall, is the highest points. So each of those criteria, the judges will give points. So for innovative, I want it to be creative, like disruptive. Anybody know what I mean by a disruptive business?
Like it penetrates the market and like it's different and
Yeah, completely changes the way something is done. So it kind of disrupts and does things in a completely new way. So it's really different and brings a whole new type of business onto the market. It solves problems in new ways. The prototype or MVP, anybody know it? And what's an MVP aside from most valuable player? And this really isn't most valuable player. Isaiah, right?
Yes, ma'am. Minimally viable product.
Yes, yes. So, and you want to explain what you mean by that, or you want?
That's just a product that's safe enough and efficient enough to just get on the market regardless of if it's done with like its development, and it's just packageable.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something that you could show the judges or you could show people, but it's like your first shot at something. It's kind of like a first draft of a product that has enough of the features to get people to understand like what it is, but it's not the full-blown, fully developed final thing. It's sort of like a beta version sometimes in a software or something, you know. It's like, so if you got to that point where you had a prototype or an MVP, that would be great, and they would like to see that. Demonstrate differentiation from competitors. So what's differentiation? What do I mean by that?
It's different.
It's different, yeah. Yeah, you're doing something in a new way and not the same as what everybody else is doing. So strong social environment impact, I kind of already talked about that one. Spirit of entrepreneurship is your, your teamwork looks great. You have a very passionate, energetic presentation. People liked it. Participation, that's where you get the point for every workshop that you attend. So that's somebody that's really all in, working on this and, participating fully and energized, and that shows, and the judges reward you for that. Most viable, you could have the potential for strong first-year sales, really have proven there's a market for it, and that you can execute on it, because that's part of it. It's one thing to create a business and stuff, but can you and your team execute and be able to do this? And that would make something, where it could really be realistic and valid that you could do that. It's also different from competitors. Most scalable would be, you could have strong sales in like 5 years, get into new markets, possibly become something global, would be something that would be considered the most scalable. Highest overall is the best overall, obviously, and then if you don't win one of those, you could still win 500 if you're a finalist. So some people just want to enter on their own, and you can. So it's not required that you form a team. We think people have been more successful in the past. We recommend you form a team, and we don't recommend you form a team of 5 other people that are exactly like you. You would want to form a team of people with different skill sets, and so a lot of times successful teams have, somebody that's marketing major, and somebody from engineering, and somebody from finance. It's great to have the numbers person there, and try to get a blend of talents and skills and abilities. Somebody that's really good at design thinking and can come up with solutions, and big thinker, and then an executor, and somebody that's like looking at the numbers and figuring all that out. So it's really good to have teams of at least 3 people, and then come to workshops if you don't have a team, or go to the Innovation Hub to some of the what's the name of the student group, the Innovators or something. Get out and to CEO or some of the organizations of student entrepreneurs, right?
Social Innovators and Design for America.
So those are 2 that meet there like regularly. So if you're looking to build a team, get out and find other people that are kind of into this same kind of stuff, and attend workshops, attend student organizations that are about this type of stuff, and find some team members are good. So different majors and interests are good, and you can continue to add team members until January 13th. So you don't have to have all those names by November 1st. This is how you apply. Again, deadline November 1st at midnight. I told you all this part earlier, but these are important parts of the criteria. This is on our website, Jim Moran School, Center for Student Engagement. Caitlin's sitting in the back of the room. So between Caitlin and I didn't bring my business card, but I think both of our email addresses are on the last slide. These slides will be on the website as well as the video from this. So you can email us if you have any questions. And these are all the dates that you need to keep in mind. I didn't put today's dates because obviously you know that, you're here. So we have this information session today, and we'll do the same thing tomorrow. So since you're here today, you don't need to be here tomorrow. But all these other workshops, I think, yeah, September 17th is design thinking. So Dr. Izzy from the Innovation Hub will be doing a design thinking workshop. And we have marketing, social entrepreneurship, pretty much all the how to do an effective pitch and presentation. So all the topics are on the website, and these are all the dates of them. Application deadline, again, I'll say it again because even though y'all all here, so you won't be the ones emailing saying, well, I didn't know application deadline was November 1st, can I apply? And we'll say no, because all these people applied on time, and that would not be fair to let people who didn't pay attention apply. So please be sure you do it before the deadline. These are the, when the other stages are due and when the teams are advancing are at these dates. And then the finals on March 6th. So keep that date open on your calendars. We have a lot of resources on the website, and I hope this will
Cross our fingers.
go there. That's right, yay. So, all these are past workshop presentations from last year, all the PowerPoints and things from previous years, but these things, forms and worksheets, the business model canvas is on here. If you're doing a nonprofit, they have a specific business model worksheet that's helpful. Prototyping tools, things you can use for that. These videos, like Steve Blank, I said, he's kind of like a guru of lean startup and business model canvas. There's videos with him. So there's just a lot of information here, and also frequently asked questions. So feel free to go to this resources tab or to email Caitlin or me too with your questions. And these videos that we're doing this year will also be posted up here. So let's see how I can get back. So here's my email address, Caitlin's email address, and phone numbers. We both have an office here in Shaw Building, as well as downtown in Jim Moran Building. So we are accessible and happy to help you if you need anything. Especially Caitlin.
Yeah. 232, this building, second floor.
Yeah. So does anybody have any questions now? Yes.
How many people applied last year?
I think it was around between 60 and 80.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it did narrow down. So some of them were a bit, some were duplicates. So like a team of like maybe 3, some of them actually both submitted an application, you know, stuff like that for cheaper.
Right. Yeah.
But then it, you know, weed out the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, sometimes that's ultimately the decision. Either it was too much work or they realized it really was not a good idea and they couldn't come up with another good idea or another thought, you know, something that was worth pursuing, so
Right, and
lose some along the way.
the first application, or the initial application, once you have to submit that on the, where she had it linked. And then the next stage, so stage 2, is where, you know, you have to actually submit things. So a lot of people from stage 1, the actual intent to compete, don't even submit stage 2, you know, so that's how we kind of narrow it down to, or they
Yeah.
realize that they submitted 2 applications.
Are all team members required to go to workshops or preferred to go to workshops?
That's a good question. They don't all have to go. So if anyone on your team comes, so we see, like once we know who the teams are, you get a point for any one person on your team coming. Because it is, and we do alternate, like we're doing the same thing tomorrow night because some students have class on Wednesday nights. And then as the workshops go through, we have them some Tuesday night, some Wednesday night, because we can't ask all the presenters to always come 2 nights, but the material's available on the website, but it's good if somebody from the team could come to at least one of them, you do get more points for that. So, anything else? Questions? You know where to go? Yeah,
What time are the workshops normally?
5 o'clock. Yeah. Right here in this same location. Anything else? Okay. Good luck.